aliens helping us with all this situation regarding the heater, the microwave waves that is
So
the sun sending to us.
they do help Earth somewhat. They make sure that we don't get hit by meteors, well, death and destruction meteors yet anyway. There has been, from what I've seen floating around on the internet, I don't know if it's real or not, but there has been footage of certain ET factions who are shielding us from extreme waves of the sun, from the radiation. Go check it out yourself. Say that what you will. I don't really have all the information on that. I'm just telling you that it is out there. You know, on a personal note, I do know that this planet is protected from like catastrophic destruction to a certain point. You know, certain wars that I'm not going to mention, certain materials started to be used, you know, on the other side of the world, and the inner earth beings got all janky about it, where they're like, you don't do that again, or we're gonna come up there, you know. So you wouldn't like it either. Their technology is way higher than ours, even any of the military that we have, well, except for the super space programs, but they work with a lot of those people anyway. That's how they got the technology for some. But you know, but most ETs are not going to come down here until they know that humanity has evolved enough consciously and physically that they are ready for contact. And what I mean is, you know, thinking above just yourselves, you know, the planet, your neighbor, that sort of thing. Because when you're out in space, that's all you have is each other. To honestly, living on a spaceship is no easy feat. People do not know how graced they are living on a planet that is alive, because there are dead planets out there that have very little vegetation and, you know, very little resources. So, but they need to learn how to take care of all of this, you know, before a lot of the contact will happen, because just doing those acts and working with each other and becoming a unified species, it doesn't matter what your political views are. It doesn't matter what your, you know, religious views are. You can all cooperate in harmony with just the simple order of respect. Respect that they're different. Let them do the things they do. I mean, there is extremists where, you know, obviously you shouldn't be going off killing anyone, you know, just because you want to or whatever. But it's that mutual respect. I don't agree with what you do for religious or political views, and you go about your way. You know, you might have to stand in line at the grocery store with that person, but that's fine. There's nothing you can't manage, you know, family members, everything. When you have that respect, because ET politics, there is even the Dark Draco Council, the Dark Council, still goes to the galactic meetings. And this is the galactic meetings, you know, and universal meetings. So they still have to face everyone who they're at war with. And guess what? Most of the time, there's no fighting. There's not supposed to be any fighting, you know. They're not trying to kill each other. They're not trying to rip into each other. You know, there's been 2 encounters. That's about it for, you know, a couple of them. But because of that mutual respect.
You surprise me, and I'm sure you surprise a lot of no, because when you say the Dracos, it's like you know, it's like everybody in panic, because Dracos are, you know, those reptilians that are eating humans. The way you said they have those meetings where a different, what do you call it, groups, species. Those species, they has to be together They don't eat each other, and they got it work out. What did they said about this Earth, this planet situation regarding all what happened?
Well, the radiation and everything, a lot of planets out in the galaxies have to deal with that, depending on what stage their star is at. So it's not something that's entirely unknown to them. They have some technology to help shield and whatnot, but it's not impervious. It's not perfect. When a star dies, it's going to die. They can't stop that. So, or at least they're not supposed to stop that, because it disrupts the balance of nature. And usually what they'll do is they'll get everyone within that planet radius or the star radius that for how big they think it's going to explode, and they'll evacuate them.
Yes.
They'll try and get as much people off as possible. Our star isn't that old yet, but life is unpredictable. So they're trying to do their best on getting some of the radiation off of us, or at least the really bad ones. But humans got to figure stuff out on their own too. Strife causes change, and it can either be changed for the better by working together, being collaborative, and utilizing resources properly, without all this. We have to have money to do this. Well, why do you have to have money to do this? Why can't you just have people who want to help do the work and do this? There's always trade for trade, food, shelter, whatever, but it has to be fair. If you're not fair, then that's when things hit the fan, So getting all that help from ETs is fine and dandy, but they want people to evolve too. And you can't do that if everything's handed to you. And I know that sounds very cruel and unusual, but if you think about it as a child, if you have the safety of your parents all the time, if you have knowing that food is constantly going to be there, and that, you don't have to want for anything, you're not going to evolve. You're not going to change. And it took me the longest time to wrap my head around this, because when I first started figuring things out, knowing that there was people up there in space who could literally come down here and fix everything, I got really upset. Why is the world the way it is when they could just fix it for us? But that's the wrong thinking. And they don't fix it for us because we would never evolve. We would never grow to those challenges. You have to be careful with channelers, first of all, because a lot of people in like the starseed groups and new age groups, they'll just hear voices in their head, and a lot of them will not question who they are. They're just going to be like, they get one answer of like, oh, I'm your ET mom, or I'm the Galactic Federation, or my favorite, I'm Ashtar Command. And they're like, oh, awesome. Dealing with the political side of ETs, many of them treat humans like children. And in a certain way, they are. I would call them more teenagers than children, because they've lived long enough to know better. But doing and what the right and wrong things, well, it depends on the person. However, a lot of ETs will give everyone what I call false hope, because it's nothing bad's going to happen. We're going to come save you, but you have to do this in exchange, usually, where it's like they have to spread the word of light and love and all this other stuff. That can be well and good and all, because I've learned that humans, if you guys do not have hope, you give up too easily. A lot of people give up too easily because, they don't like to work very hard for nothing. And if they don't have that light at the end of the tunnel, or someone to save them by the end of it, where they put in as little work as possible. And I know that sounds rude and I'm sorry, but they lose hope very quickly. Oh, sorry, it's my dog dreaming. I was like, what is that noise? So
he's so cute.
You go play with those other puppies. So a lot of the Starseed community and stuff for the channelers, like, they will give this information of like, we're going to be saved. And I understand that they're trying to lift up the vibration of the planet, but that only does so much. That's why I call it the false hope. Whatever you want to call it. It's literally just false hope, because just thinking about it does a little bit, but that's not how physics work on this planet. And then you have the other side, and I kind of sway more to the other side of like the reality check of, if you guys don't do this, this is the consequences that are really going to happen. The planet might not blow up unless humans do it to themselves, but it's just like, you guys need to light a fire under their butts so that they will go do stuff, because there's a lot of different people in the world, and sometimes the happy-go-lucky side just doesn't work very well, but it can be very depressing. I found out in my 3 years of disclosure, people get really freaked out and they get overwhelmed. So I've learned to help meet in the middle of the reality check of what is possible for the love and light community, and the reality check of what is going to happen if you don't. And here's the solution. Here is the solution if you guys want to reach out into outer space, if you want to have a future. Because this planet, unless people start helping and turn it around, it's not going to make it. And unfortunately, you guys all survive off of this, and so does every other species on the planet. So I don't think you guys are mostly reptilian where you can adapt so easily. The ultimatum, the meeting in the middle, is raising people's consciousness of awareness of there is more out there. There are ETs out there. Yes, you can become part of the galactical community and go to the stars and visit new places and new cultures. It is not without strife. A lot of their places are kind of no different than here. And some of them, they have many species and many cultures that may not get along. But you can find planets out there that have that respect, where you can find diverse cultures and they don't get along with each other, but they don't really deal with each other. They leave each other alone. And then there's those planets out there who have literally found themselves of being what we call zenful, or, at one with each other. And those planets are beautiful. It's like you reached a point of heaven, where everyone's just getting along. You will find that most of those species to humans would have lack of emotion, but they don't. They're just really refined to a point, so there's a lot of give and take up there. But taking care of the planet, taking care of yourself. And what I mean, taking care of yourself, I mean the healthiness of your body and your senses, diving into feeling past your normal senses, feeling the energies of the planet, feeling the people around you, what they want, what they need. That's how we help take care of the planet, is we give back, because unfortunately right now a lot of humans just take, and they're taking more than just resources. They're taking the soul energy off of the planet. And if you're just hoarding it and burning it up from, being wasteful and, being tired all the time because you're in the rat race, it's hard to give back. And only when you get past that can you truly start to give and start to see what's really out there. So you don't have to commit suicide. but there are consequences for the whole love and light side too, if you don't help spread more than just laws of attraction of thought. You have to get out there and do stuff.
Yes. What is those really medbeds are here? They really are chipping here in a physical way, or is people that really wants to take money without any consideration?
So as the med beds, like I've been physically in them here on the planet, but I am also in the government projects,
Listen what Apollymi say, because that's real true. She's been in the physical med beds. Mm-hmm. And so that means like, okay, we gotta believe in something, and I believe that they are for real. A lot of people say that the government, the military already has. So go ahead, Apollymi.
You also have to understand what parts of the government and military have them. Is a normal soldier going to be able to get in one? No. Is the Navy SEALs going to be able to get one? Probably not. It's the more classified, the more hush, people for the military and the government. The government, probably the president, depending, some of the higher, unfortunately, like bad elites and stuff like that, they might have the ability to do that. So, it's they are here. However, they are not accessible to everyone because, obviously I have issues here. I can go into a med bed anytime that I am doing things for the government, and then they literally heal me, and then they put the medical tech on me, the matrix tech, and the matrix tech has a lot of my illnesses, the headaches, a constant anxiety for no reason. Well, I have constant anxiety because I'm not in my real body. That's what gives me anxiety and PTSD. So
what did that mean when you say I'm not in a real body?
So sometimes I am in the body that they gave me when I first was created. All right. A lot of the times I'm in a clone, or a very poor clone mixed with other things, or I'm in a blank, or I'm in just a random body that they just happen to have. They all have to wear matrix suits, because even my real form, even though if I took off my wings, my tail, and my ears, and made my legs straight, because they bend backwards at the shins, or in the middle of the shins, I could pass off as human with just really pointy ears and very pale skin. However, the other ones, may or may not be able to be passable. So they have to have a holographic suit on me at all times that dampens my energy field, so I'm not exploding technology. Anyone who knows science, can understand that. And then not having people freak out that, my eyes change color or they sliver because, I am part dragon and all that other stuff. So it can get complicated when it comes to that. And, everyone's like, oh, that's not real.
They're going to freak out because they don't know. They are not prepared. And that's what we got to be prepared for. We got to be prepared for.
And that's another reason why ETs won't just come down here, because they would have to send the ones that look and are human first. There are human ETs out there. They're only called ETs because they're not born on this planet.
Yes.
All right. So, and there's millions of them, millions of human ETs. They could walk down here and you would think that they are the prettiest little thing or the handsomest thing on the planet. And most people wouldn't even know that they're like walking up to talk to an ET.
Thank you. Aliens are here. I came from one of them. I already know. We need to wake up. Most aliens are in a different form. When somebody come in and say, I've been abducted by reptilians.
Well, I mean, reptilians are just one of the species that
one of the species. Yes, ma'am.
You've got the human ETs, you've got the generic gray body type ETs, cat folk ETs. There's just so many, and not all reptilians are evil. Unfortunately, there is a high population of negative ETs, humans, reptilians, and other species that are in this quadrant. So a lot of them are being removed off of Earth at this point in time, thank goodness, because it is time. And we're hoping that the removal of a lot of the negative ETs, especially for the Starseed Council, will help the evolution, because they were dumbing it down. They were making sure it wasn't going to happen. Because obviously if it doesn't happen, the experiment fails and then they get it. You don't want them to win, start evolving.
Yes.
You know, so there's a lot of ETs that will interact, and even some of the negative ETs will pretend to be positive ones, which is why you have to be so careful and document everything. If you feel like you're being contacted by an ET or being abducted, I know it has its chances, but write it down. Write as much as you can remember, because over a long period of time, you'll start seeing patterns. And that's how I started realizing I was disappearing, other than my, boyfriend telling me, you were gone last night. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't remember anything. I woke up with markings and everything else. So, but you have to be honest with yourself. Did you get too high last night and you don't remember what happened, or too drunk? Your mind gets open and stuck in frequencies when that happens. So it could just be you tripping, or it could be a legitimate contact. But if you're just, according to others, if you're just tripping, you're not going to have the same trip twice, or it's not going to be in synchronization all the time. So yes, it's important to write things down. So the gray body types, it really depends, because there's many gray body types that we call the assistant races, and they are genetically made for whomever is buying them to do whatever it is that they want to. They're kind of like workers, okay, like generic workers. So they might come down and abduct a lot of people and take eggs or take sperm, because guys get abducted too. Females are not the only one. If they're,
thank you.
If they're interested in a specific genetic line, maybe you have a higher healing factor. Maybe your DNA bonds with other ET species better. It really just depends. And a lot of the times, abductions will continue in a family line. So, if your grandfather got abducted and your father got abducted, you have a high chance of getting abducted too. But it can also be at random too, because genetic mutations, from crossbreeding one ET hybrid species that's been on this planet for a while from another, will randomly come together and make a whole new DNA strand that is valuable to them. So if none of your family members ever got abducted, and you have weird quirks, or maybe you don't even know that you have quirks because you haven't gotten your DNA mapped, I'd be careful of that. Maybe they found something in your DNA that they find valuable and that they're going to harvest as much as possible, or maybe even once in your lifetime, to figure things out. And I'm not even going to go into DNA contracts and that sort of thing in this interview, because it gets really depressing for most people. That it's because you don't have any control over a lot of the things. So a lot of the stuff that I say, like, people don't like because they have no control over it. They don't really have ways to get out of it. Trust me, I know that's frustrating, because I'm still not out of all of my contracts either. So and once you get out of one contract, they try to suck you right back in with any means necessary, so it's pretty terrible. So it really depends on why you're being abducted, but they ain't going to tell you most of the time. There's lots of people out there who have hybrid children or have had their, ovaries and sperm taken and they don't get answers. Sometimes it's a one-time thing. Sometimes they come for you several times within your lifetime. But the more you get abducted, the higher chance your children are going to get abducted, just to let people know. So you could prepare them for that.
So you for real, you're right. A lot of guys has been, sexual experiments, or they've been taking, the sperm of men and do the same thing like women's. And guys, they don't say nothing.
Well, that depends on everybody else. It's not just about me or you, it's about everybody. Because if it's going to be on a global scale for ascension, or what most people would call like the wipe, which is when the majority of humans get taken by ETs for whatever reason and wipe the rest out. Those are basically kind of our two options at this point. Either we can evolve and get up into space, and it might not be within our lifetime. It might be within 10, 7, 8 generations down the road. But they ain't going to know anything unless we teach them. The higher technologies, if you want med beds, you need to be asking and demanding for it. All right. You don't have to start a riot or anything. But again, those technological, companies and stuff, start writing to them. Be like, we want the med beds. We want the med beds. Because if there's anything when it comes to politics of businesses, you give what the people want.
Exactly.
You ain't gonna get their money if they're not producing what you want.